Hello and welcome to From Dial Square to Where. Now look, people, okay, you all know what's going on here. You've got busy lives. But let's get something straight. Subscribe, start listening, start liking. You know it's the right thing to do. You know, at the end of the day, when you look back on your week, have you done anything to be proud of? If you ask your parents right about now, they're going to say no. No, you haven't. But if you subscribe, if you like, if you start listening, if you click on the link and start enjoying and start contributing to From Dial Square to Where, they may think a little better of you. Because right about now, guys, okay, you're not in their good books. Like it, subscribe to it, enjoy it. Take care, all.
All right, Treacle.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of From Dial Square to Where with me, Andrew the Hinkley Gooner. Well, it's the Inter-lull, and it always feels like the longest period of your life. My God, it just takes ages and ages to get through it, and lo and behold, we're playing on Monday as well, so it's going to be even longer to wait. So, there's only so much arse scratching I can do any longer, so here I am, recording for you lovely people. So, what's been going on lately? Well, I must admit, I watched the Ian Wright's interview with Dennis Bergkamp, and I'm not ashamed to admit, I watched it with a big lump in my throat, just remembering all those times watching Bergkamp on the pitch, and wow, I mean, he's just an absolutely amazing bloke. I mean, watching him in his house with Ian Wright just reminds you of what a class guy he is, and I've never seen anyone with a better first touch of the ball. It's just incredible. He's got magnets stuck in his boots, and the ball's got metal in it, and he can just control it. It just sticks to his foot. He just control it like no one I've ever seen. Got to be the best player, I think. Well, definitely the best player I've ever seen for Arsenal, and he's my best player of all time. I mean, I've got so much love and affection for David Rocastle because he's the first real footballer I genuinely sort of felt any kind of love for watching him on the pitch. And I'll never forget David Rocastle. But I have to admit that Dennis Bergkamp has got to be my favourite player of all time. And I don't think we can, well, hopefully we'll see his like again, but I've never seen anyone like him before or since. And I just, miss that guy so much. And it gave me a bit of hope and heart, and that watching that interview, that he will end up back at the club one day, because he's got to. He's just got to. Imagine being a youngster coming through the ranks in the academy and just bumping into Dennis Bergkamp walking down the corridor and just, working with him every day. It'd just be so inspirational. And if he ends up at another club, I'll just be gutted, absolutely gutted. So I just hope and pray that one day he will turn up at the club in a coaching capacity. Otherwise, it'll just be such a waste. It really will. And he actually wants to come to the club. His family love living in England, in London. And I think it's just, like he said in the interview, waiting for his kids to be, maybe finish schooling or whatever, or just be a bit more right for them to move at that point. I don't know, but I just hope it won't be too long, really. And I've just missed him. I missed him being around. And the most talented player we've got on the books at the moment is Mesut Ozil, and I've been feeling like I should try and steal a march and copyright, trademark the phrase the Ozil situation, because it's all we hear at the moment, the Ozil situation. And I've been I've always respected the way he plays. I love the way he plays football when he's really in the mood. But I've always been of the opinion that we've never seen the best of him. It's unlikely we will ever see the best of him. And it's probably past the time for him to move on. But now that time is sort of coming round, and it looks like he might go in January. There's been a lot of clips going around of some of Arsenal's greatest goals and of the Emirates period, the Emirates era, or whatever, or the top 5 goals that Arsenal scored. And you have to admit that Mesut Ozil is central to most of them. And seeing him in tandem with Alexis and the rest of the decent players we've had around at this sort of period of our time, it's hard to say that we're not going to miss him, and it's really hard to understand what's going on, and we'll never find out until maybe Mesut Ozil brings out a book in the future. But it's very sad. It's made me very sad that he's been ostracised in the way that he is at the moment. He's still got to be, the best player we've got at the club. And obviously he goes around and around and around. He's the highest player at the club. Not his fault. We offered it to him and he took it. No one else in the world wouldn't have taken it. But at the end of the day, he is the highest player at the club because he's the best player at the club. And to not be in the squad is just beyond me, really. I just would love to know what's going on. If it's purely down to Emery's ego, then that really, really is annoying. If it's down to him really not giving a fuck on the training pitch, fair enough. I'd love to know that. I can't see that personally, but it might be the case. But whatever happens, it's just a shame. When you see all these goals and the way that he's been central to pretty much every single one of them, it really is a shame to see him not even in the squad. So yeah, very, very sad about that, to be perfectly honest. Moving on to the next situation, it was reported about Lacazette being offered around in the summer for a cut price deal, basically around 45 million, sorry. God, 45 grand, that'd be a nightmare. By a Russian agent. But fortunately, on Football London, it's been reported by James Benge that it's an absolute load of rubbish. And it's completely the opposite situation as far as Arsenal are concerned, saying that they are really desperate to tie him down to a new contract. If we were ever going to sell him, it's going to have to be over 100 million quid before they'd even look at it. But they don't want to sell him. He's currently on 180 grand a week. In addition to bonuses for Champions League qualification, they're looking to extend that. So that's good news anyway. That was a little bit of a concern for a short period of time, but I'm pretty sure that James Benge knows what he's talking about as far as that's concerned. So yeah, hopefully that's the case. LT Arsenal put a tweet out a I think it was yesterday, which is Sunday now, because I'm recording this in the early hours of Monday morning, saying which summer signing of ours has impressed you the most so far. And my reply was, so far, it's got to be Martinelli. But all the signings were good signings, and Pepe will be a legend in time. Don't forget, he's got a 5-year contract, and Bergkamp himself said it takes at least 6 months to settle. That was in that interview that he did with Ian Wright. I completely believe that. I really do. He's only had still about 5 starts for the club in all his time with us. I still stand by all of the skills that you've seen him do so far on the pitch, albeit in only sort of little flashes so far, but it still shows the absolute quality that he's got inside of him. And he scored today for the Ivory Coast, linking up quite nicely with Wilfried Zaha, who did a fantastic piece of, few pieces of skill in the box, in really tight spaces, got the ball to Pepe. He was slightly behind him, so he did one of those cheeky little sort of back heel flicks and scored. And that could be a good indication for him to rediscover his form when he comes back after the international break. Now, until today, yesterday as it is now, I didn't know he was going away with his international team. But listening to a couple of podcasts, one of them did a bit of a search. I think it might have been Arsblog, and they couldn't see that he was going away, that he'd been called up. So I was hoping that he was actually staying behind during this break to, get more training done and get a bit more settled. But I suppose overall, it's good that he has gone away, because scoring that goal will give him a lot of confidence. Fingers crossed on that one. But absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he will go on to be a massive success with the club. So fingers crossed with that one. But Martinelli, my God, I'm just so excited about that kid. I think the sky's the limit with him. I think he's probably got the highest ceiling of, future world-class ability than anyone else in the club. I mean, we've got some cracking players in Saka, Willock. They're going to go on to have fantastic careers within the club. I think you can see that already. I think you can tell someone's ability really deep down very quickly by watching them play. I know, I'm pretty confident in that anyway. I think the way that they are on the ball and the technical quality and the ability they've got, I think you can see that quite quickly. I think Jose Mourinho once said quite famously, you can tell if someone's a good player or not after 10 seconds. I think that's a bit much, but I think it is pretty quick that you can tell someone is going to be great. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm very confident with that. I also put a tweet out a couple of days ago, I think it was on Saturday, that I said some of the very best coaches in the world are at unfashionable clubs, never get the big jobs, and not a lot of people ever take any note of them or have ever heard of them. I really genuinely believe that as well. I think Chris Wilder's a good one. No one had heard of him until he got Sheffield United promoted. But if you look at his back record with his previous clubs, absolutely incredible job. Absolutely incredible work that he's done. Right the way through from the conference. He's really worked his way up to where he is now. And they're more than holding their own in the Premier League. Looking really good, solid. I'm really worried about our match against them coming up on Monday. I'm not very confident playing them away. It's going to be a hell of a lot harder than people think. I've listened to a lot of podcasts with people putting their predictions down. Every single one of them have said we're going to win. I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure. We'll have to play extremely well and really take our chances. Now, there's one caveat to what I'm saying. I think that if we do have Tierney and Bellerin starting, maybe Holding starting, And not even more importantly, because I think Bellerin and Tierney are probably overall more important, but we might have Lacazette back, fingers crossed as well. I don't know that. I haven't seen anything. A lot of people seem to think he might be back for that match. Maybe he might be on the bench. But if we've got all these players back, then that will give us a much bigger chance. And when Lacazette comes back into the team, we've got to fit 4 players into 3 slots, and that's going to be tough. You've got to say Lacazette and Aubameyang have got to play. So what do? Do you leave out Pepe and risk, affecting his confidence even more? Or do you leave out Saka, who doesn't deserve to be left out either? He's been playing brilliantly and he's done nothing wrong in my book. Nothing wrong at all. So it's going to be a tough one. It'll be interesting to see what the manager's going to do on that one. Or I should say head coach is going to do on that one. But going back to the initial tweet as well, I've mentioned Chris Wilder. You've got to have a think about Sean Dyche, is what I put. Philip Simmons, who is at 10 Simmer 10, put Dario Gradi, and I thought that's a great example of the work that he did and bringing through God knows how many players he brought through in his time with Crewe. Just off the top of my head, he brought through Ian Rush, David Platt, and there must be a whole list of others that I'll probably kick myself for not remembering immediately. But yeah, fantastic record he had. And I replied saying, I wonder how Sean Dyche would do managing a big club with lots of money to spend like United. He's synonymous with tough tackling direct football with Burnley, but that's to get the best out of the players he has at his disposal and to stay in the league. With good players and money, he would get his team playing differently. I firmly believe that. I think that managers who have exceptional quality work to the strengths of their players and build a team and a style around the players at his disposal. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will scoff and laugh at what I'm saying here about Sean Dyche, but he has worked absolute miracles with Burnley. Really has. When they went down that season, the club stuck by him and he got them back at the first attempt, and he went on to take them to the Europa League with this, got to be the smallest budget in the league pretty much, and a team full of hard-working individuals, no star names, and probably what you'd say are championship players. And he sets up his team to play, to be extremely hard to beat. And let's face it, he's got to do that because otherwise they'd get smashed every week. But I wouldn't mind putting money on the fact that if he did get a big job and had some exceptional players to work with and a big budget to mould the team around him in his, the way he would want, he'd play a different style of football. He wouldn't be playing the same football at Burnley that he did at Burnley if he went to somewhere like, a Man United, for example. He would adapt to the players around him. And that is what makes a great quality football coach, in my book. Now, I'm not going to say I know all the managers around the world that are in that sort of situation where they're at an unfashionable club and, they may have worked in the lower leagues in the country that they're applying their trade, whether that's England or anywhere else, and have brought a team we've never heard of out the depths of despair and against all odds got them playing great football and challenging with the top teams in their leagues. Now, I just wish we could just find, like we always marvel when we found a little gem in a player like Martinelli. no one had ever heard of, in the 4th division in Brazil. I just wish we could do the same with a manager when it comes to changing the manager, whenever that may be. And get someone who can work with the players that we've got and who knows how to play to their strengths and who knows the style of football he wants to imprint on the club and who knows the type of player that he needs to bring in to do that. That is most important to me in a manager, not some big flashy name. Because I've had some arguments about Jose Mourinho. I'll talk about that in a bit. I don't know where that came from. People going on about wanting Jose at the club. Anyway, I'll come on to that in a bit, like I said. But I'd much rather have someone like that who would work his absolute best because of getting the opportunity of working at a club like Arsenal. Not some kind of mercenary big name manager who will be off at the drop of a hat the next time Real Madrid shake their stick at him. I'd want someone that would be really grateful to work at a club like Arsenal and transform the team. Because let's face it, no one had heard of Arsene Wenger when he came in, working over in Japan. And I'd love to get an opportunity to have a manager, a young up-and-coming manager that we've never heard of, who would go about transforming the club. That would be my perfect manager. Or that could be Freddie Ljungberg. Just saying. So, moving on to the Jose Mourinho situation. I don't know where it all came from, but it was all over Twitter over the last couple of days about people saying, yes, I'd have Jose, no, wouldn't have Jose. And I said that, I put a tweet out there about this Jose Mourinho situation. I'm just going to try and find it actually now so I can read it out to you word for word. But I wasn't really complimentary about Jose Mourinho, if I'm honest with you. As I was just literally trying to find the specific text that I put out. But basically what I was saying is, oh yeah, here we are. I don't want Jose Mourinho because he's a manager who can only win by demanding hundreds of millions of pounds to buy the best players and then systematically proceeds to break them and the club before leaving after 3 years. That's why I hate him, as well as the fact that he's arrogant and petulant. And I've got a lot of likes and a lot of people that agree with me. And I think football fans and football clubs and the world of football have got long memories, and the way that he disrespected our club and Arsene Wenger, saying that he's a champion of failure, calling him a voyeur, and blah 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 blah, and he's done the same whichever club he's been at as well. In Italy, he got in so many fights and scrapes with other managers, including Claudio Ranieri, who is probably the most unwarranted manager that you could ever think of. He's such a nice guy. Everyone loves Claudio Ranieri. Maybe not as a manager, but as a person, there's nothing not to like about him. And if you can pick a fight and start slagging him off, then you've got something wrong with you in your head, to be perfectly honest. And that's just one. He had loads of fights over in Italy as well. And I stick by with what I said because I've had a few people come back to me and say that that's not right about Inter Milan. He didn't spend millions of money. Well, I'm sorry, but he did. He broke the club record bringing in Ibrahimovic to Inter Milan, amongst others. And you can't tell me he didn't spend a lot of money. He transformed the side before he won the treble with them. And, he was a brilliant manager. He had success everywhere he went. But at the end of the day, he always left with a cloud over his head, apart from possibly when he left Porto and possibly Inter as well. but he creates an awful bad mess in pretty much everywhere else he's been. And when he went back to Chelsea, it didn't end well. And I'm not saying he's not a good manager, because he's got results everywhere he's been. Even at Man United, he got that shower of shit finishing second. So he's done something right. But I'm telling you, they were absolutely amazingly happy, when he left. I mean, the club was on its knees, and the distress he caused in that changing room was toxic. So absolutely, not even for short-term gain, I would not want that man in our club. I'm telling you now, I'd rather have Sean Dyche. I'd rather have Arsene Wenger back. I'd rather have anyone. I'd definitely 100% rather have Freddie Ljungberg in the club than that toxic bloke who's going around the world now because he's desperate to get another job. He's going around the world schmoozing everyone as a pundit, so trying to show everyone that he's turned a new leaf, but I ain't falling for it, mate. No, thank you. I don't want him anywhere near my beloved Arsenal. So I'm going to take a short break now, and I'll be back after this. Hi, welcome back. So another thing that's happened recently was that Arsene Wenger was named Legend of Football at the annual Nordhoff Robbins Charity Award dinner. It was just so nice to see him again. I've watched a few more interviews with Arsene Wenger, and no matter what you think of him in his latter years at Arsenal, you cannot deny what a legend he is at the club. I still love the man, I always will, and even in the worst years, in the latter part of his career with Arsenal, he's still won 3 FA Cups, and people bang on and on and on and on about how good Pochettino is. He's never won a cup. And even in, like I say, the worst years of Arsene Wenger's reign, he's still got us three FA Cups. And as I was growing up as a kid, I've seen Arsenal managed by Terry Neal, Stuart Houston, and George Graham, obviously, who I love as well. George Graham, another great legend. And I never thought I'd see a team that I supported, Arsenal, play football with such amazing brilliance that Arsene brought to the club. And for that, I'll always be grateful to him. And he's got, incredible intelligence and integrity, love and passion for the club. And I don't know who it was, but someone once said that when he left Arsenal, he left his heart at Arsenal, and he's broken-hearted, basically, the way it all went. And I believe that. I genuinely believe that. I think he's getting back to form now, thank goodness. It's lovely to see him out and about and, collecting this award. And I just wish him all the very, very best. He's been mooted as being in charge of, I can't remember the exact title, but in charge of sort of football operations for FIFA. And I couldn't think of a better man to do that, to be perfectly honest, a job like that. I don't know whether it's his ideal job. He's said quite often that he misses being involved on a day-to-day basis at a football club and on the training pitch. And, I do hope that he gets a job that he enjoys and doesn't have to come up against Arsenal, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how I'd feel if Arsenal came up against the team managed by Arsene Wenger. another job that I'd like him to have is the England job. I think that would be get my love for England back again, and hopefully we won't see so many Spurs players in the squad. So that would be good as well. But yeah, I wish him all the very best. I've never got a bad word to say about Arsene Wenger personally. I can't understand the fans that hate him. I really, really can't. I think a lot of the stuff that was going on, he protected the club as best as he could, took a lot of the crap on himself, and I just think he just loved the club, would do anything for them. And he's got this book coming out soon. I think it came out on Twitter that the book publisher has been chosen, so another step closer to actually getting it. But a lot of people are saying, and I'm obviously one of them, I definitely want to read the book, but I think people are getting very excited about it, thinking, it's going to have all these revelations in it. I'm not so sure. Again, I don't think he'll do the dirty on the club. I may be proven wrong, but he's just such a gentleman. His heart's still at the club. I'm not sure that it will be as sort of hard hitting and, raking any dirt and sort of getting to the bottom of a lot of stories as we think. I may be wrong, like I said, and I hope in some ways I am, but I can't see him ever wanting to sort of drag the club through the mud. I think he's just too much of a gentleman to do that. So we'll see. We'll see what it contains, but I'm certainly looking forward to it immensely, as I'm sure a lot of you are. I saw also, and I'm just trying to find it now, but there was no. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that one. I wanted to talk about how frustrated I was last Wednesday. I hope you will all listen to and watch the YouTube show I did on Wednesday, which was very exciting for me. Two of my sort of podcast idols I had as my guests on there, in Elliot Smith from the Arsenal Vision podcast and Harry Symeou from the Chronicles of a Gooner. And I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. Got to the stage, unfortunately. All the best to Glenn DITM, who was going to be on there with us, but unfortunately last minute he had a mercy dash to pick up his wife from the train station. She wasn't very well, so I wish Glenn and his wife all the very, very best. Hope she's okay now. And you'll be seeing a lot more of Glenn on the podcast as well. But yeah, when it got to the time and I was we kicked off the show, lo and behold, after usually having fantastic broadband speed with Sky Fibre in my house, it started to play up. So unfortunately, I couldn't concentrate as good as I wanted to. I couldn't hear as good as I wanted to, and it spoilt it for me, unfortunately. But you can still hear Harry and Elliot perfectly. They had no such issues, thankfully. So I really urge you to go over and listen to or watch, obviously, on the YouTube channel, that show. And I'd like to thank the guys, Elliot and Harry, very, very much again for being guests. And I'm very pleased to say that I've got some more excellent guests as well lined up for future episodes coming up, starting this Wednesday. I'm not going to say who it is right this moment, but watch my Twitter for news over the next few days. But yeah, another great few guests coming up starting this coming Wednesday. So please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it with your mates, and help me get the word out there. If you've got any questions or comments or anything you want to say about any of the podcasts, any of the shows on Twitter or YouTube, then please do get in touch On Twitter, it's at FromDialSquare, and my email address is fromdialsquaretowhere@gmail.com. So please do get in touch. It's always good to hear from you. So I'm going to take one more break, and I'll be back shortly.
Mind the gap. Mind the gap.
Welcome back. Now, there's been a massive debate. I discussed this on Wednesday with Elliot and Harry about how we think about the team at the moment, regards performances, and how we feel about the team regarding results and league position. And it's really a difficult one because, yes, we're in a good position in the league. We've only lost one game this season, but we are only 8 games into the season, and we're not going to stay third if we continue playing for only 45 minutes in each game, whether that be the first 45 or the second 45. And I'm watching each game at the moment, apart from the cup games, including Europa League, which I'm enjoying, and the Carabao Cup. But I'm watching the league games from behind the sofa at the moment, and I just don't know how long I can stand that for, to be perfectly honest, because it's just the same all the time at the moment. It's a continuation from last season, and we could have another situation virtually the same as last season, where we had the 22-game unbeaten run, and we're on a similar type of run now, and we all know what happened afterwards last season, and if things don't change, it could happen this season as well. So I'm choosing to be still positive because I love the squad that we've got, and we've got some great players coming back, and I'm just hoping that the form has been down to the fact that Unai Emery has not had his first choice central defending the defence as a whole. Basically, he hasn't had that. He's had 3 out, as we all know, this season, and 2 of those for a big part of last season as well. And I just hope that he does bring those players straight back into the team after the Inter-lull on Monday. But I'm not sure he will change the central defenders, whether Rob Holding's fit to start or not. I think he'll still go with Socrates and Luiz. I want him to go with Luiz because I think he's the real captain of the squad. You saw when he scored against Bournemouth how much the squad thinks of him. And he is the only one on the pitch giving out orders, shouting at people, telling them where to be. And he's the general on the field, not Granit Xhaka. So it doesn't matter whether he's called the captain or not. He is the leader on the pitch. And I really like him still. I know he's made a few blunders this season, but that's not down to him, I don't think, in my book, because he's just been put under too much pressure with players just running at him all the time, and you're bound to make mistakes and try and do your best for the team, but it hasn't gone well on that occasion. But I still think we need him in the team. Now, if we took out Socrates and put in Holding, then that's a little bit of an issue alongside Luiz, because they're both left-sided central defenders. So I'm not sure that they'll complement each other brilliantly, but I'd rather see that either way than having Socrates, because yes, Socrates is a good player, but as I said 150 million times now, you must be bored of hearing the same thing. Socrates only has, 85-90% of a good game every week, because the other times he does stupid things and his mind just wanders off and goes down the chippy and comes back at some point during the match. So I'm not confident with Socrates in the team, because he will always make some kind of blunder. So I really want to see Rob Holding back. I mean, the ideal thing would be Rob Holding and Callum Chambers longer term, but we do need to have Louise in the team. I really think we do, because, like I said, you can see what he means to the rest of the squad. After he scored, God knows how he didn't get injured during that celebration where everyone piled on top of him. Got no idea. But yeah, it was really lovely to see. And it was a good goal, well taken goal. I think he's a player for goals. I think he could be worth 6, 7, 8 goals a season to us genuinely. Not just from corners, but free kicks and just general play, long shots and that as well. So, and assists. Not even to mention the assists. I think if he gets the chance, then he's going to be laying them on a plate throughout the season. So I was wondering whether it would be worthwhile toying with the idea of a back three and wing backs when Bellerin and Tierney are back, because they can play either way. They can play full backs or wing backs. But I know that Unai Emery has been waiting for so long to have his first choice back four out that he might be reluctant to do that now. But it could be a really good way of playing, really, with Louise in the centre of a back three, with Holding on his left and Chambers on his right, Bellerin and Tierney bombing down the wings and dropping back, and then in front of them we could have a double pivot of Ceballos and Guendouzi, or Guendouzi and Torreira, probably preferably, and alternate between Ceballos and Willock with pushing further forward. So yeah, I don't know what to suggest really, but you wouldn't really be able to play the front three then. But I don't know how to play it really, but we'll have to wait and see what the gaffer does when they're all fit. But so yeah, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt still at the moment, but I just can't think about sort of watching the team for the rest of the season playing in the way that we are playing at the moment. And I sincerely hope that it is down to the lack of first choice starters in the squad, because if they do come back into the team and we still play like we have been doing, then I'll be very, very disappointed with that. I really will. So fingers crossed. So just having one last break, and I'll come back with the last section, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Have you liked it yet? No? Why not? What's going on? You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your grandparents right about now are thinking wrong uns. Absolute wrong uns. This is wrong and you know it. Start liking, start subscribing, get on with it. Thank you very much.
Hi. So, on the show that I did on Wednesday with Elliot and Harry, we discussed the terrible situation, which is very, very funny, with those down the road. And so much stuff. I'm not going to risk a slanderous comment, obviously, but there's so much gossip going on from their changing room and subsequent black eyes, etc. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. But it really, I don't know what I prefer really, whether to Poch to get sacked or him to just walk out, or just let it carry on and risk him sort of turning it round again really. But I just can't see it happening. I mean, the squad is just so broken now. It was stale before, but now it's just broken. And I just struggle to see how they're going to sort of get out of it. But you always live in fear that might happen. But I just think that Poch he's done well for them. He's Was it really down to him, or was it just the fact that he's been lucky with the squad that he's got? I don't know, but at the end of the day, he's won fuck all, and he still gets his arse licked by the media even now. And during 2019, they'd be in the bottom. I think they'd be sort of 15th or below on their form in the league. And that says a lot, really. And yes, they got to the Champions League final, but I think that was just more by luck than judgment. Let's face it. They could have been out in the group stage. They could have been out against City. They could have been out against Ajax. And just sort of managed to sort of rescue it in the last minute. But I don't know. I just think it was, like I say, more luck than judgment, really. That, and it papered over a lot of the cracks, to use a well-used, worn-out phrase. And, Indy Kyler News, at Indy Kyler, always good value, really. He's one of these in-the-know accounts. They said the other day, I think this was on Sunday. Can't say much, but at Spurs official are in trouble, big time. Well, no shit, Sherlock. That's been going on for God knows how long. And the Gooners podcast, hi to Mike and Andy, big up. But you should just stop every tweet after can't say much. And that's true, because everything that they say, God knows why people follow these accounts. Let's have a look. 290,000 followers. 290,000 for stuff that anyone could put out. It's just ridiculous. They're not in the know at all. They just sort of search the media outlets and just regurgitate everything that anyone can find. But it just makes you laugh, really. Can't say much, but Spurs are in trouble, big time. Yeah, we know. Just fuck off. And the last thing I was going to say, such a good... I've been seeing a few videos over the last few days about Santi Cazorla. And tonight, or last night as it was now, he came on for Spain, replacing, funnily enough, Dani Ceballos. And it was just a heartwarming moment, really. Watching some highlights of him play this season, he's literally got back to being one of the best players in the division. And it wasn't long ago that he had virtually no chance of ever playing football again. And to see him not only getting back out on the pitch and playing football, but to such a fantastic level, it's just heartwarming to see, really. Criminal how his career at Arsenal was cut short like that. And I can't remember whether it was his arm or his leg, but apparently, he was so bad. He had a tattoo on his, I think it was either his arm that is now on his leg, or he had a tattoo on his leg that is now on his arm. I can't remember which way around it was, but because they had to use some of the tissue, it must have been it was on his arm, because they must have taken it off his arm and used that tissue for his leg repairs. And I don't know what, whether it was for scarring purposes or whatever, I don't know, but they had to take off one part of his body and put it onto his other. Either way, it's just horrendous, the injuries that he suffered, and to see him coming back and playing so fantastically. And you must have all seen the goal he scored against Barcelona recently. It was just phenomenal. And I just wish that he could still be doing that for Arsenal to such a fantastic level, because boy, how could we do with him right now? So big up Santi Cazorla, and such great news to see you back at such a great level, playing football brilliantly and playing again for your country. So fair play to you. So that's it now then for this week. Please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast on whichever is your favourite podcast platform. We're on all of them, pretty much. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure that and hit the notifications so make sure you don't miss any of the live shows. Again, should be going live this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Don't miss that. Big guests coming up on that show and for the future episodes as well. And get in touch with the show, as I mentioned earlier, from dialsquare2where@gmail.com and on Twitter @FromDialSquare. For now, take care. The birthdays this week. Goonagal 49. Happy birthday for this week. I hope you had a good day. I can't find that tweet you put out anymore. I don't know whether you deleted it, but that was mind-blowing. I don't know where I should say it in case it's incorrect now, but Duncan James from Blue, being the great-grandson of Herbert Chapman. Completely been out of my head. How terrible. Yeah, Duncan James from Blue, the great-grandson of Herbert Chapman. Mind blown. Could not believe it. So yeah, anyway, happy birthday. Promised you I'll give you a happy birthday. And here it's your happy birthday. Hope you had a great day.
Thanks very much for listening. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. We really need your help to spread the word about From Dial Square to Where, so if you haven't done so already, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. Subscribe to the From Dial Square to Where YouTube channel and hit the notification button so you never miss a live show. And finally, please tune in to the live shows. Don't forget, you can get the chance every week to be the star alongside Andrew and his great guests just for being the most entertaining viewer on the night. Thanks again and see you on the next episode. Bye!
Mind the gap. Mind the gap.
Here's Mr. Herbert Chapman, the famous manager, with his lads at Highbury. And now I'm going to ask him to introduce them to you. Mr. Chapman?
I must apologise this morning. I'm so husky, I can scarcely speak. But my deputy, old Tom Whittaker, will perform. Now, Tom, do something. All right. On my right, Boy Baston. Plays outside left. Alec James, next. Wee Alec is called. Plays inside left. Jack Lambert, our smiling centre forward. Bob John, a Welsh international left half. Herbert Roberts, our tall centre half. Little Charlie Jones, another Welsh international. Frank Moss, our goalkeeper. Lancashire lad. David Jack, our inside right. Joe Yu, our flying outside right. And the popular captain, Tom Parker. He's not so old as he looks, by the way. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da.